Welcome to Success Blueprint. I am Scott Hansen. I'm your host. And on the show, Success Blueprint, we get the opportunity to interview some of the most successful thought leaders and business executives, corporate executives, and entrepreneurs, along with media professionals in the entire city of Chicago. And today is absolutely no different. We have a treat today. We actually get the chance to interview one of the more successful media professionals in our city. He's been now with one of the top sports radio talk shows in Chicago for many, many years. And it's my good friend, Mark Grote. Mark, welcome to the show.
Scott, thanks for having me on, man.
Absolutely, man. Just for everybody that's watching, you and I go way back.
Yeah.
How long?
My goodness. Let's see. It keeps getting longer and longer.
Right.
Is the unfortunate. Back to high school, so that would be class of 1990.
Yes.
I believe
Wow.
was Go LP,
Go LP.
Lake Park High School. LP baseball. You made it a lot further in baseball than I did. I aborted mission about after I think freshman year, but you went straight through. But class of 90, Lake Park High School in Roselle.
Almost 25 years.
My guys, I was trying to do the math.
Yeah.
I was stalling the whole time.
Right.
The whole time we were just talking, I was doing math in my head, and it wasn't working out.
25 years.
25
We're getting
years.
old, my friend. We're getting old. Wow.
See, it is nice to be sitting next to somebody as old as I am. So.
Well, you made it much further. I played some sports, but you made it much further in the sports world. So really great to have you on the show today. Really excited to have you on. I know I've been trying to get you over to the show now for a little while, so thank you for carving out some time.
Yeah, it's my honor, man.
Great.
My pleasure to be here, and I really appreciate you asking me to be on.
Absolutely. So, the Success Blueprint, it's all about finding out how somebody starts off and then kind of their journey to, I call it up their success mountain. Before we do that, tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how you got started and kind of a little bit of your journey.
Yeah, I got started. I guess we could go all the way back. I started getting interested in sports and in broadcasting. The two sort of intersected for me. As maybe when I was 8 or 9 years old. Way back in the 70s, is that right? Yeah, my goodness.
Long time.
Anyway, I became obsessed with Cubs baseball. That's where it started. That's my beginning spot right there. I was so obsessed with the games, but also with the romance of the broadcasters. There was a guy named Jack Brickhouse who used to be the TV play-by-play man. You had some of the radio guys like Lou Boudreau and Vince Lloyd. And as like an 8 or 9 year old, I knew way too much about the adults,
right,
as opposed to just the players. And I was obsessed with everything that went into baseball and the broadcasting and Wrigley Field and just the whole thing, to a point where it was like almost borderline unhealthy, because I was, instead of being outside playing the games, I was inside watching the leadoff man, the true link fences, and all sorts of all that good stuff. So that's kind of where it started for me, and that vision just stuck in my head and really never went out.
Okay.
Throughout junior high and high school, I would pretend to do radio shows and things like that. I would listen closely. I knew all of the, back then there wasn't as many, TV stations and broadcasters. So I knew all the local TV guys. I was very well aware of them. The Johnny Morrises of the world and Tim Weigel, Howard Sudbury, all these guys growing up. Like, I knew them, again, way too well. They were just celebrities to me.
Right.
Chet Kopic was another guy too. He did, when we were in high school, he was one of the only ones doing a sports talk radio show. Chuck Swirsky with WGN Radio. And then I would kind of pretend to do my own little sports talk radio.
Sure.
Which is kind of strange when you're sitting up in your room and you're talking to yourself.
Understand.
So my parents thought that there was issues and things like that, but we got help, and here I am today. So
Very good.
I'm feeling much better now.
Good for you. I know that in talking to you, you started out, well, first of all, a lot of people, when they think of the dream job, they think of a dream job, and for you to become a professional, paid sports broadcaster, one of the biggest markets in the country, to do that for a living, to follow your passion, to follow your dreams, when most people would just think of that as a pipe dream. And you know what? That's never going to happen for me. I'll get into something more traditional. How did you take this passion, this dream when you're 8, 9, 10 years old and actually cultivate it into a full-time sports broadcasting paid thing? I'm sure you had to go through your moments and you had to cut your teeth at some places other than the big city.
I think there's a couple parts of that. Like, I knew in my mind that I would do this, that there was that little bit of cockiness in the back of my head that I am absolutely cut out to work in a big market, that I am absolutely cut out to be a radio or TV person in the city of Chicago. There's no way that I'm not going to do this. So there's a little bit of just knowing that you're good enough to do it. There was also a part of me, and I don't know if this is good or bad, but I always said to myself, if I don't make it in broadcasting, then I won't make it in life, period. Like I will be on the streets if I don't make it doing this. I set my path that narrow to where I really thought, and maybe there was like insecurities of myself, that I thought I was not qualified to do anything else, that I can't do anything. This is what I want to do, tunnel vision, and I'm not going to let other things get in my way and distract me. And it didn't, you know what, the people that were skeptical about it, and people should be, because it's strange when you're in high school and you tell your parents, I'm going to be a broadcaster, I'm going to be on TV and the radio, and it's like, okay, we'll support you in this, but good luck, with your teaching job or whatever you end up doing.
Sure.
So yeah, just to kind of have that little bit of almost ignorance about it, that this is what I'm going to do, and I will stop at nothing to do it. I will do whatever I have to do to get there. I will work in whatever market, and I will be there. Like there was not even one like tiny little bit of doubt in my head. None. Like 100%. I will work in Chicago as a full-time sports broadcaster.
So as you're coming up and as you're working in these really small markets, I know we've talked about you working in a market where there's probably 15 to 20 listeners most, maybe 100 people in the city, in the town. How is it that you went from, my God, I'm here working nights or mornings or weekends at this small station that barely anybody's listening to? What made you have that fortitude to say, this is happening no matter what, and even if I start in this small market, I one day will have a great job in a huge city, be a well-known sports broadcaster, hopefully in the city that I grew up in, which you're doing right now.
Right.
Well, how did you kind of close that gap from this could be something interesting, maybe it's okay, I'm not making a lot of money working in a small town, to arriving to where you're at today?
Yeah, because I knew that was the pathway. I knew that working and cutting my teeth in small markets was what I had to do. And so I knew all along that if I'm going to make it in Chicago, I have to learn my craft in markets that aren't as big as Chicago. And I always said, like, being from Chicago and being in this business it's kind of a curse, because you want to work in your hometown, but most people's hometowns are not usually the third largest market in the country. So I wanted to, get myself home, and I knew that if I didn't care what I was doing. Like I was working overnight shifts, I was working morning shifts, I was working afternoon shifts, I was doing radio sales, I was doing whatever I had to do to be around to be in those stations. And again, then there's that little bit of cockiness in the back of your head where I was like, I know I'm good enough to do this. I know that even when I was in Lincoln or in Springfield or in Peoria, I always said to myself, I can do Chicago radio. I can do this. I've got the skill to do it. I got the talent to do it. I just need to smooth it out a little bit more and sort of work my way through the ranks,
And I think that that's a huge leadership success principle, which is it's the Cortez statement, which is I'm going to burn my boats no matter what. No matter what it is that I'm going to do, I don't want to have a plan B. Right. You had a plan A, you were sticking with your plan A, and no matter what it took to get there, you were going to fulfill that dream, fulfill that passion. And you and I have talked off camera to say, I did whatever it took, whenever it took, to drive 2.5 hours just to be on air for maybe a weekend or a Sunday shift, drive back to your other job in a smaller market, really to continue to fulfill your passion and say, you know what, I'm here and I'm here to stay, and you have to literally drag me out of here.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point, like what you said there, with that there was not a plan B. And I am conflicted over whether I would tell people not to have a plan B in their life, because I suppose you should, because you don't actually want to be on the streets and you don't want to actually be without money. But I think that there's so many ways to get sidetracked for people, I think, on their journey, on their path to whatever it is that they're doing. There's so many temptations. There were temptations that I had. I mean, because I knew that there were jobs when I was working in Springfield and Lincoln making nothing. There's jobs doing things that were very easy that I could have made, $50,000. It was like, wow, that's like rich money to me. It was like, And you can't get yourself stopped on any of those pathways. So I stayed in the small markets and kept them. And the other thing too is, for people who are trying to stay along their path, is to be totally and completely persistent with whatever you're going after. Because when I was in the small market, I was just deluging the big market with Chicago with tapes and resumes and phone calls, until one of those finally hit, and I make the call to Chicago, to the Score in Chicago when I was still downstate. And I won't forget the phone call. It was maybe the third time I called this program director, and I was just kind of doing a routine check. I was like, hey, Ron, you guys have anything? Expecting him fully to say no. And he says, as a matter of fact, we do. Can you be here this weekend? And I said, oh crap. I was like, I don't know if I'm ready. I didn't say, I was like, sure, I'll be there. I got the phone. I'm like, oh God, I don't know if I'm ready for that. They literally wanted me to come like in 3 days and broadcast in Chicago. And I was like, I don't want to have to edit anything, but I was, I was scared. Yeah. But that's what I wanted, and I was persistent enough. And I remember even apologizing to him, saying, I'm sorry I bugged you so much about the gig. And he said, nope. He said, I liked your persistence. He actually said, I appreciated your persistence. That's part of why you got the job. So that's kind of what set me on the path.
I think that's the epitome of what this show is all about, is, again, talking to individuals like yourself that you start out, you have a dream, you start down the path, but then things come up. Mm-hmm. And we always, as individuals, we like to stay sometimes in our comfort zone, which is that little box that's warm and fuzzy and it's nice and it's what we know. You got the call, you were ready. In your mind, you were ready, even though you didn't maybe want to step outside of your comfort zone and drive up to the big city and do the big sports radio show, but you were ready. Yeah. And you took that leap, you made that transition. But I think before that, what's so critical to me is that you were continuing to be persistent. Yeah. That you continue to knock on the door no matter what happened. And you said, you know what, I'm going to do this no matter what. I don't have a plan B. I'm going to keep calling the program director, and I'm going to make this happen no matter what. And I think what you're saying is that's what separates people that want to have success, people that want to be successful, compared to the people that ultimately get over that hump. So now you can look back on, and my question to you is, anybody that's maybe right out of school or making a transition that is looking at this interview right now and says, my God, that's what I want to do. Mm-hmm. He's the guy. That's the guy. People are emulating you right now that you emulated people 15, 20 years ago. What would you say to someone that's coming up now that says, you know what, I want to be a sports broadcaster either on TV or radio?
The advice I always give, because there's many different theories on ways to make it in sports broadcasting, which is very, I like to be realistic. It is a very difficult field to get into. Mm-hmm. The competition is vicious. The full-time jobs are scarce. And I'm not scaring people away. I just like to be totally and completely realistic about it. But what I tell people to do, the most important thing, if you talk about my business, specifically, get yourself on the air. If that's what you want to do, you want to be on the radio, you want to be on TV, go to wherever you have to go so that you can be talking on the radio. Go to I like to give my path, because that's what I did, and I think it's the best way to do it, is go to the small markets. I'm lucky I didn't have to leave the state. Right. A lot of people leave the state, go to Nebraska, whatever. Go to that tiny little radio station, get on the air as much as you possibly can. I think a mistake that a lot of people make in my business is, and there's been many people who have been successful starting in Chicago, but it's not as easy to do because you don't get yourself on the air if you're behind the scenes. Sure. It's easier to go to a smaller market. Even though there's suburban radio stations and people really don't want to stray too far, just to go and be on the air, talk on the radio, be heard on the radio, be able to put some sort of resume tape together. Right. It's just really important to work for your college radio station, work for if you're in high school, work for the high school radio station. Whatever you have to do to be on the air.
Focus on the craft, not the money.
Focus on the craft, not the money, because the money is not there in this business right away. It's pretty much non-existent. And that's what I knew. Know what you're getting into. I knew what I was getting into. I knew that I was not going to be living well. That there would not be extra cash at the end of a paycheck. And also know too, I mean, like what you're talking about, like it's easy to become complacent too. Like one of my favorite sayings is that there are many comfortable parking places in life, and there are like where you just like you're doing okay, you're doing well, life is good, but you're not doing exactly what you want to do with your life.
Sure.
It's like that's why I say don't stop short. Go to the next level. Don't make it. Not everything's gonna be easy. It's gonna like like I'm in an industry which there's a lot of glory to it, but there's a lot of parts that sucked. You know what I mean? There's a lot of parts that just were crap, and it makes you want to give up at times, but you know that there's a payoff at the end of the day, and you know that it'll be fulfilling to you, and you don't have to get up every day, going to your job, thinking, man, I wish I would have done that, because while I'm making good money, life is good, family's happy, I'm not particularly happy. So that that aspect of my life, I don't have to worry, because I honestly can say I'm doing what I wanted to do. So
awesome. So let's switch gears a little bit. So I know you interview a lot of people at the job. Most boring interview, or if you want to take it another route, one of the most memorable interviews, or one that one that maybe stood out in your mind, whether it was great, whether it was boring, whether it was whatever.
First of all, there's been a ton of boring interviews, so I don't know if I can actually single any out. A lot of times, if we're doing a live interview on the air and it's boring, if the producer's just sort of an abort mission situation where it's like, hey, if you want to cut this guy off after 7 minutes, you can.
Right.
I think I've had some pretty cool. I think that probably the one where I became a little kid again, where I all of a sudden didn't feel like a professional, was when I got to interview Michael Jordan, because you and I both grew up kind of from junior high on, high school and college. I just grew up watching this guy, and then it was when he was with the Washington Wizards. Okay. So he was at the United Center, and I had to go cover the Wizards practice, and I'm like, and usually you get, for better or for worse, you get a little jaded when you're in this business. You're not like in awe of people. Like when I first went into locker rooms, of course I was in awe of, oh my God, look at these guys, these people, they're sport athletes. But you become, you're doing a job. Sure. And it's a job that you have to do, and you can't be in awe, and I rarely am anymore. But when I saw Jordan, I was in awe. And honestly, like, all I wanted to do was go up to him and thank him for entertaining me. That's all I wanted to do. Was like, Mike, thanks for, you entertained the hell out of me for most of my life. I appreciate that. I managed to get through the interview, and it was great. He was fantastic, the whole time. But I felt it was like the Chris Farley show. Do you remember that time you hit that one shot? It's just you're like, do you remember that shot in the Lakers game? Like, I just wanted to reminisce. I just wanted him to be my friend. So that was fantastic. I had to, sometimes you just get lucky. Like, I covered the Western Open, which used to be a Cog Hill golf tournament. Sure. Tiger Woods was competing in it. There was barely any other reporters around. Usually it's just like a flock of reporters that'll go. It was Tiger just by himself, and me. I was like, Tiger, you got a minute? So this was when he was still at the peak of his powers, before any of his controversies had hit. And it was just unbelievably cool to just like, all of a sudden I'm talking to Tiger Woods and we're having a serious conversation, and he was very engaged and very willing to do it. I had a great interview with Shaquille O'Neal when he was with Miami. I was at a before a Bulls playoff game, and one-on-one with him. He was so playful. He saw my tag, saw my little media tag. He's like, Mark Grote? I go, no, it's Mark Grote. He goes, no, you're Mark Grote from now on. And it was when he was starting to get a little bit older, and I said, well, people say you're getting older, Shaq, So he goes, you're getting older too, Mark Grote. You're about the same age. I'm like, awesome.
Wow, good interview.
Yeah. So there's the good ones like that, and I've had a lot of experiences like that. There's also been some bad ones. Sure. Barry Bonds.
I've heard.
Was not friendly to me. I just needed to get some information from him, and he had no interest in talking to me and shooed me away. Tony La Russa when he was managing the Card. What was it? No, it was the Cardinals. I wasn't. My goodness. He scolded me. Jim Hendry, the Cubs old general manager, he gave me a good scolding. He told me to turn off my recorder, and he just started hollering at me one day. We became friends again, though. So yeah, happy ending.
Character builders, they call it.
Yeah, it was.
That's right.
It was because it was horrible. I was standing on the Wrigley Field infield, and I don't remember. It was something about Rich Harden. Remember when the Cubs acquired Rich Harden? Oh, this is getting into minutia. But he tells me to shut off my recorder, and he just starts yelling
berating
at me. Yeah, starts berating me, and felt like crying. But I held it together, and like I said, we made up. So
you kissed and made up.
Yeah, we sure
character
did.
builder, and you have a great story to tell.
Yep, and here I am.
Right,
so lived to tell about it.
So not bad from a kid that started doing overnights in a city of 150 people or whatever it was down south to interviewing Shaquille O'Neal and Jordan,
right,
and, Barry Bonds and Tiger Woods.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and it's funny because I think incredibly fondly though of my days. Like you talk about in the cornfield in Lincoln, Illinois. Like those were some of my favorite times still, nonetheless, because it was just like such a bonding experience. Like I did everything at their radio station, you know what I mean? And it's such a small town, you get to know like everybody in the town. Right. You're the radio guy, so like it was wonderful, and I still keep in touch with people from Lincoln and Springfield and Peoria. So
that's great.
Yeah.
So we're gonna switch gears for a second. We're gonna bring up a new segment of the show. We're gonna bring up a new segment called Rapid Fire.
Oh, okay.
Rapid Fire. So it's sort of a takeoff of like the Bud Light Hot Seat on ESPN.
Okay.
So I'm just going to fire a bunch of questions. The very first things that come to your mind, just let it rip.
Okay.
Very simple. It's going to be just a few questions. Just let the answers rip, and I promise it won't be that traumatic.
All right, I'm a little nervous, but fire away.
That's the point. That's good. Okay.
Class of 90. Go easy on me.
Okay. Burger King or McDonald's?
McDonald's.
Okay. Deep dish or thin crust?
Deep dish all the way.
So if you could be an animal in the jungle, Mark, what animal would you be and why?
Tiger. Power, beauty. That's an easy one for me.
Power and beauty.
Yeah,
okay.
love tigers. Obsessed.
So it's 2014 at the taping of this show. When will the Cubs win the World Series?
Oh my goodness. Wow, 2014. I'm going to say, Scott, thanks for asking too, by the way. I'm going to say 2017.
2017?
Yeah,
wow,
2017.
5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Good luck with that.
You disagree?
Okay, anyways.
It's going to happen.
Stranded on an island with one device. What would that one device be?
Oh my goodness.
Any device, anything, things that you're,
Yeah, one device. My God. It would be so easy to say. I guess I'll say my smartphone, I suppose, because that's
because we're all addicted to our smartphone.
Yeah, but I guess I'd have to have a charger, so I guess ultimately that would make sense.
That's okay.
Yeah, so maybe a tiger.
A tiger?
Yeah, I think I just have a tiger.
A tiger on the island with you.
Yeah, just have the tiger.
Either a tiger or smartphone.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. All right, interesting.
Yeah.
So who's sexier back in the day, in the heyday, sexier? Carmen Electra, Pamela Anderson?
Oh, Carmen Electra for sure.
Not even a hesitation.
Yeah, I kind of thought Pamela Anderson was a little bit gross, to be honest with you.
Wow.
Yeah, it just didn't do it for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Carmen Electra, very good.
Too. Yeah,
sure,
so.
I understand. Let's see, what else? What other profession would you be doing if you couldn't be a sports broadcaster? What would you like to try?
I'd be that guy asking for $1 out on the street before we came in here.
Oh, that guy. I don't know if that's considered a profession.
Seemed like a good guy, though, actually.
Good guy.
What would I be doing if I wasn't doing this? That's really difficult for me. Probably teaching. I was always told, like, people always thought that I would be a good teacher, so that was, I guess, probably that.
Any specific subject?
Anything, not math.
Anything not math?
Yeah,
okay.
anything not math, yeah.
Makes two of
That didn't
us.
go well at ISU.
I understand.
For me, yeah.
Me neither.
Several times. It's what kept me in school for 5 years, so.
Last question. One guilty pleasure. What would it be? It could be food, could be a TV show. What is the one guilty pleasure in the arsenal of Mark Grote?
Oh my goodness. There's a lot of layers of that. Goodness gracious. I was just trying to think there was a song that I was listening to and I can't think of her name now. Very popular. I can't think of her name. So I'll just say pepperoni combos. Pepperoni combos, like the combos with it's like the cracker outside. Like if I'm really losing my mind as far as like going off the diet, like I will house a bag of those. Okay. What's the song? Roar. Who's the
Katy Perry?
Katy Perry. That's it.
Okay.
That's my
She's your guilty pleasure, or the song?
Here's the problem. I feel bad about this, and maybe I shouldn't. But I like all Katy Perry songs when they come out. They're all overplayed, and I get sick of them. But for some reason, as a person who thinks he knows a lot about rock and roll, I end up liking all Katy Perry songs. So I'm going to put that down as a guilty pleasure. Yeah.
What other show can we talk Katy Perry, Carmen Electra, and Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods all in the same show?
And don't forget, Tiger Woods and a tiger.
And a tiger, exactly.
So if you really want to bring it full circle. Yeah.
This has been awesome, and I appreciate it. So where can someone find you? When are you on the air next? What's your Twitter? How can people find you?
So I'm on The Score, which is 6:70 a.m. I'm on every morning from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m., part of the Mully and Hanley show on The Score. Okay. So I got 6:70 on the a.m. dial. So you can hear me there doing my thing. And then I'm on Saturdays, too. I co-host a show at various times. Generally speaking, between 8 a.m. and noon. So all over The Score, Monday through Saturday. You can also occasionally catch me doing TV on Comcast Sportsnet.
Okay.
It's a show called Sports Talk Live, where we sit around just banter sports, basically.
Okay.
And then I'm very active on Twitter as well.
Okay.
And you can find me on Twitter at Mark Grote Sports.
At Mark Grote Sports.
Right, and Mark with a K, and Grote is Grote. So I'm always game for Twitter. I'm on Facebook as well, so you can friend me on there. It would be awesome. So yeah, those are the main places you can find me.
So that wraps up another episode of Success Blueprint on meetadvisors.com. Make sure to stay tuned for the next show on Success Blueprint right here on meetadvisors.com. Again, this is your host, Scott Hansen, saying, go out and make it a great day because you absolutely deserve it. Take care.